grew up in a family that was Hindu. We celebrated Diwali, we went to bhajans, and we deeply believed in the core Hindu values of pluralism, truth, and the inherent divinity of all human beings. And serving my local community and advocating for the rights of marginalized people is an extension of my deeply held beliefs. Um, I knew very little about Hindu nationalism and the RSS back when I was in high school and Modi got elected. And I think, like a lot of Indian Americans, I initially was excited for a change from what had long been the status quo in India. But as lynchings against Muslims and Dalits increased, as Kashmir was annexed, and as the Citizenship Amendment Act was put into place, my mind was changed on the subject. I recognized the severity of the problem of Hindu nationalism and wanted to do something about it. So I began working with HFHR in April. I stand for human rights and secular democracy because I am Hindu, and I stand against Hindu nationalism because of the values of my faith. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna has a famous line, "There are many paths of worship and all end in me." Currently, Muslims, Dalits, and other minorities in India are increasingly under threat from the current Hindu nationalist government. Unfortunately, very few Hindus are speaking up against this cruelty. Many progressives do not identify with their faith, and many of those who identify as Hindu unfortunately subscribe to many bigoted, dangerous beliefs. On this day, the 1-year anniversary of the Citizenship Amendment Act, a law that jeopardizes the citizenship of millions of Muslim Indians, we must remember to speak up to our communities in order to turn the tide against democratic backsliding and encroaching fascism in India and the rest of the world. We also must engage in politics here at home, working to support communities in the United States that are marginalized and pushing for foreign policy that puts democracy and human rights at the center. We are one of the few organizations in the United States taking on Hindu nationalism, and our work and advocacy is critical to turning the tide of US foreign policy toward India. Currently, advocacy efforts toward Congress, the State Department, the US Commission on International Religious Freedom, and other bodies concerning India policy are largely led by Hindutva-leaning organizations. With an advocacy staff member in DC, we can counter this lobbying. We can advocate for Congress to send fact-finding missions to India to investigate human rights violations. We can fight against trade deals that could deeply hurt already suffering Indian farmers. We can fight for asset freezing sanctions on officials that violate human rights. But this cannot be done without DC-based staff that can build relationships with the federal government to advocate for policy change. Thank you for being here and making that mission happen.